Welcome to Vita Ministry. I'm Cassandra Barbato, your host. Let's take just a few minutes to be nourished on God's Word. We were not able to sit on the throne with Christ because we were not able to maintain righteousness. No, we were all made in the likeness of our earthly parents, Adam and Eve, who had sin, and they passed that sin on from one generation to the next. And because we were of that making, of that likeness, we were not able to stand in the presence of God. No, we were under the power and the kingdom of darkness, the one where Satan rules, right? So that law, that holy and righteous law, that just law, that spiritual law of God, which is good of itself, yes? Because it's God's righteous law. It actually became something bad for us, though. It became a ministry of condemnation. It became a ministry of death. That's what the Apostle Paul teaches us in his letter to the Corinthians. So as we're reading this, we get this really cool, it's that one of those parts where you can learn something important. Yeah? You learn something important here, that there was a weapon that the enemy had against you, where he could come against you actually whenever he wanted, because you were permanently under God's wrath. And because you were not a part of God's kingdom and you were a part of Satan's kingdom, in the kingdom of darkness, he could have his way with you. But now Christ disarmed him. You see, he took that debt, that certificate of debt that you had, that was decrees that were against you because you had broken God's law. He took that and he nailed it to the cross when he was nailed to the cross. The righteous one dying on behalf of the unrighteous. You see, somebody perfect had to die. If Christ himself had been born after the likeness of Adam and Eve and carried on that sin principle, he would not be dying on behalf of humanity. He would be dying on behalf of himself, because he would owe a debt of death to the law. But because he was God's righteous and perfect Son, he was able to be a stand-in for you and a stand-in for me. That we would know that the debt that was owed is already paid by the bloodshed of Jesus Christ. Because that law, those decrees that were against us, they demanded blood. That was the debt that we owed. We owed our own bloodshed, our own death to those decrees, to that debt. And Christ gave it. And he didn't just give normal, blood. He gave the perfect, righteous blood of the very Son of God. And so when he paid that debt, it was an extreme, abundant overpayment, not just for one person's debt that they owed. No, it was an extreme overpayment for every single person that has ever walked this planet. Jesus Christ, his blood is of that high value, that when he went to go cash in on that debt, pay the fullness of that debt, the bloodshed that he gave to the law that demanded blood was worth far beyond all the combining blood of all of humanity. Does that make sense? So if we're talking in currency form, right? If we have this dollar against this dollar, all the bloodshed of all of humanity cannot even come close to the worth of the bloodshed of the Son of God, the righteous and perfect and just Son of God. So when he paid that debt, it was far beyond what was needed to satisfy the demands of the law. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me encourage you to share this episode with the people in your life so they can get that nourishment of God's Word. And hey, did you know that Vita Ministry is a 5-minute excerpt taken from my main podcast, Your Daily Meds? You can hear more at yourdailymeds.org.